artist Lloyd, inspired by his strong connection to music, creates wire art. Wire art is an eclectic interpretation of the human form. What inspired you to pursue this artistic expression, wire art?
It was something that kind of happened in passing while I was actually on a construction site having my studio built, and I just basically look for interesting mediums, things to work with, craft with, and what happened was the people who were building my studio had used this medium to actually create hanging my ceiling, oddly enough, of all things, and lo and behold I found that the material was malleable, and basically went from there, picked up a piece, and the first cellist was born, who was rather odd, little looking creature, and gifted that to a friend of mine who was actually a cellist here locally in the chamber orchestra. And it kind of went from there. It just kind of spiraled, pardon the pun, out of necessity and evolved into these pieces here.
How long have you been creating wire art?
Since March of last year.
And how have your pieces evolved since you started creating?
Oh boy, they came from something that looked very, very simple. In fact, it was funny, my first piece was actually a snake, which was pretty easy to make. Take the piece of wire, it was a long piece, and went, I've got to evolve beyond this. So it's kind of a strange circumstance.
And describe the materials used to create these pieces.
Basically, it's 2 different gauges of aluminum wire at this point, kind of like making a stick man, make the essential piece and then start to kind of spiral around it. The material is something you can get at a construction supply store, so it's nothing crazy, and then at this point using kind of hammered finish paints to do the textures and finishes on them. So being aluminum, of course, they won't rust yet. We'll see what happens with that.
And describe some of your techniques.
For the most part, it's all just basically hand coiled and spiraled, you know, with the assistance of a couple pliers here and there for some of the larger framework pieces, but we'll sit for hours and hours and hours kind of doing the twisting and try and avoid the carpal tunnel syndrome after 4 or 5 hours of twisting.
Now, some of the pieces clearly reflect your appreciation for music and dance. Is wire art a way of merging these creative passions?
For the most part, I basically look to kind of capture the movement of individual disciplines and the music. As I'm a musician-composer originally, that was the kind of inspiration, was to get that look of basically the player's performance side of things and what they do. And then, of course, the sports was an offshoot, and dance was an offshoot to do the same thing. And just basically trying to get, you know, to capture the moment, they say. It's almost like an Olympic thing. And I keep getting requests actually to expand it into other fields, and I have moved into kind of what is called the life series, with people doing day-to-day things, you know, people with their dogs, their computers, whatever. And I've done a couple commissioned pieces for residential works for that kind of thing. So
tell us some more about the Olympic connection.
Well, actually, oddly enough, my nephew actually just competed in the Olympic luge doubles team for Canada, and he had come in basically, you know, young, 18 years old, starting in 18th position out of a group of 20 from the world who were in, and he did reasonably well. He moved up 3 positions, so that's good for him, but he is very young at the craft, at the sport. And so he was basically the inspiration for me to start the whole sports series, and the logical offshoot, of course, was hockey and curling, kind of the Canadian pastimes. So having a piece placed with the International Luge Federation was kind of a bit of a coup for me to get that in there, and they actually appreciate it a lot compared to the usual trophies and awards that dignitaries get from sports fields. And that's a real different kind of difficult thing to capture the movement with sports as well.
And is your work displayed in other cities in Canada and in the US?
Yeah, actually I'm in Waterloo at a facility up the road called Gallery Double T, and also in the Grosse Pointe Art Association, which is in Detroit, Michigan. So recently expanded into the States, and I'm pretty happy about that. Maybe I'll make a Chrysler car wire art, you never know.
And how have your audiences responded to this unique art form?
Oh, it's been great, actually, and especially well received in the musical communities, and still have interest generating new pieces at this time. And so it's for me, it's been actually really great, considering I've only been into this medium for about less than a year, and it's done very well, well beyond my expectation at this point.
And have you received requests to create pieces for other types of venues other than galleries?
One of the things I'm doing is I'm finding I'm getting commissions for award pieces. Just recently had the Kitchener-Waterloo Multicultural Cinema Club requested me to do 3 pieces that are award pieces for their ceremonies in March. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure what the award will be for, probably best cameraman, best hostess, you never know. So that could be interesting, and some of the pieces are here today that are kind of going to be used for their awards.
And what do you find most rewarding about creating wire art?
Being that I actually kind of work in the studio environment all the time and behind the scenes creating music and that kind of thing, it's nice basically always to get back to a visual art form. It's just really kind of interesting to put something out there, you know, might have some longevity or shelf life that'll be there, as opposed to the great symphonic works I do, which hopefully, who knows, maybe hundreds of years from now they'll still be here next to my musical groups.
Wire art captures the flow and movement of the human body. Lloyd Walker's imaginative designs transcends varied artistic fields.